So how was that reading for you?
The reading that Tori just did for me was on removing blocks, and it was dangerously accurate because she talked a lot about knowing my value, the value of myself, and working through some things that I created some emotional blocks for myself that actually really aren't there. And it just brought up a lot of insight, confirmed some things I'd already kind of figured out and thought of for myself, and then kind of broadened and reaffirmed something that I've presently working to get through at the moment. So she was right on.
Okay, so we're going to be doing a reading um, for Ms. K today, and the reading we're going to do out of the book is Removing Blocks. And what I wanted to do was I wanted to ask you before we get started, what is your block? Is there a block?
Yes.
Okay.
I would say that my block is thinking that I can't do it, or something along those lines of. Okay, let me explain it.
Okay.
I see myself doing this, that, and the other on a grand scale, and it's great. But for whatever reason, when it comes to taking the action steps to getting there, I get stuck. Like, I don't know what step to take next. I don't know what action to take next. So I have a lot of ideas. It's just.
So here's the thing.
That's kind of where I feel blocked.
But that's not a block.
Oh,
so let's get some clarity around it. Do you want to get clarity?
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to get a little clarity around, because what happens is that we make meaning of things and then they become a block for us, right? So what's happened is you've made meaning about having ideas that you don't know how to start, so therefore they become a block. Would that be somewhat accurate?
Yeah.
And the truth is that most of us do this. We have an idea about something and we want to do it, but we don't know how to get started, and so it becomes a block. So what I want to say to you is that the bigger thing is, let's take a look at how the cards would actually answer the idea of removing a block, right? Because it's how we relate to the issue that's the issue. It's not really the block itself. And people always laugh when I say this, because I talk about blocks with people because it's a languaging we know. We'll say to people, I've got a block about that. It's like, okay, well, why don't you just move it? And people go, why would I want to move it? I want to get rid of it. I'm like, well, because you created it. Why'd you create it? See, we have to understand why you created something, okay? And the thing is that the reason that you create something like that is because you really, really care and you really want to get something going, but you just don't know how. Do you see? So what we're going to do is we're going to look at the removing blocks spread in the book. So I have to look it up even. Since you're my assistant today, Ms. K. The removing blocks, let's see, intention, we did that one. Let's look at the, removing blocks. Now, I don't know who made the font so small, but I'm going to go ahead and take the glasses on. All right, let's see. It's a simple, powerful layout that actually points out your path to achieving your impossible dream. Shuffle the cards, concentrate on the feeling of being blocked, and we're going to do a layout. So, what you're going to focus on, and I'm going to ask you to go into state, and if you would with me, go into a state of that experience of, that feeling? It's a feeling of, ugh. And it really, any of us can relate to it, that feeling of like, I can't move forward. And sometimes I'll say to people, the only reason that you may feel blocked is because it's just not ready to be created yet, right? So we're going to look at the 4 card positions. The first is, what do you perceive as the problem? The second is, what is blocking you? Gosh, did I write this? Yeah. And then that's the third card. Sorry, the second card is, what would create breakthrough? So the first card is, what do you perceive as the problem? The second is, what would create breakthrough? 3, what is blocking you? And 4, what you must do to create what you desire. Sound good? All right, so let's get started. So what we're going to do is, now that I've gotten a little bit of intake from Miss K, just a sense of what her emotional experiences and your emotional experiences around a block and how she's created a meaning around it, then I can talk in your language and work with you in that empathic thing to support you to find your own solution. Because it's not about me having a solution, it's about your relationship with your chakra and how the cards will speak to you. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and ask you to just tap the cards and go ahead and send energy into the cards for me if you would. Okay, that's really good. Ooh, getting braver, I can tell. Okay, so they're new cards, so bear with me because they're not going to shuffle the same way as my more, dog-eared cards. So do I have permission to read you?
Yes.
All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm sharing space with her right now so that I can then tell her what I see and hear in this particular circumstance. And it's interesting because you notice, like, the thing about these cards that I want to share with everybody is that they are definitely, the back of the card is right side up. And some readers say to me, well, wait a minute, but then you can tell if it's reversed. Wouldn't you want to pull it reversed or this way? And I don't know. What happens is if it's reversed, it's a breakthrough. I just don't look at the back of the cards. I'm not studying them. I just kind of go, okay, I'm turning it over when I turn over a card. And I may look at a card and go like this when I'm doing it. Not consciously, I have to reverse it, but energetically I feel what it feels to me. And so I just put the cards out that way. Now this spread's a little different because it goes top to bottom. So it goes 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay. I wrote this. I like having notes with me because I kind of want to make sure that with Miss K, I'm getting a sense of what she is experiencing. Not what I want her to experience, but what she's experiencing. So we can, I'm talking about myself and your angels and spirit, to share with you what I see. Okay. So the first card we're going to look at here is it's reversed and it's balance. So that's what it looks like reversed. And the balance card is in the 6th chakra. So I want to tell you that this is important because that becomes family of origin issues. And it also is, I want to tell you what I feel with balance is that there's a belief here, okay, that what we perceive as the problem is that you really did not get the family support you needed to create what you want to create. And by that, they just didn't know. And I want to validate that for you. You know, I think part of what you experience as a block, as a frustration, is that if you never saw anyone really create the success you're looking to create, and especially with family of origin, it's extremely painful because what happens with balance is, in this particular card, is you're looking outside yourself for some kind of answer out there. It's almost like looking for a mentor out there to show you how to create something. But it's that feeling of, I have to get away from the past. You know, I have to learn a new way. And one of the things that I feel is very important when we're looking at blocks is that the idea of getting away from our past is and this is where I border into multi-generational healing. We don't get away from it. We incorporate it and we allow it to become our first step. So when I look at balance, it's like, no, they didn't know. They didn't help you. Really, the problem is, in many ways, you were not born with a silver spoon. You didn't get anything that most people, it's kind of like when people play golf and there's a handicap, and that, like, if you play against a good golfer, you get a certain amount of points. And, well, the thing is, you don't get that in life. You got the handicap, okay? But here's what I want to tell you. You also have the idea that you know what you want to create, and you just have no idea how. But the thing I want to tell you is that there's probably a lot of richness. And I use this word because I'm feeling this word. I'm getting truth bumps as I say this. There's a lot of hustle in your family, meaning they know how to hustle and make things happen. Don't minimize that. Don't minimize the ability to have street smarts. I have it too because I grew up in New York City. So I have a sense of smarts. That goes very far in where you want to go. So I want to say that because what you perceive as the problem may actually be your solution. All right? Because sometimes we look at this, and it's important, everybody, that I say that. Sometimes we look at this is my problem. I didn't get these advantages. But you know what? You have a lot of advantages. And so this brings forward to me, make up that gratitude list. Not just a gratitude list, but what are the gifts I got from my crazy family? And I say crazy family because we all have that, When I look at the second card, what would create breakthrough? I've been doing a lot of lecturing lately, Ms. K, on self-worth. And this is the self-worth card, which is what would help her, right? But here's the funny thing I want to say around self-worth is I really think, I just did a spiritual club meeting on it, and I said to everybody, do you really want to have self-worth? Are you really going to go after that? And everybody goes, what do you mean? And I said, think about it. You look at people and go, so, what's it worth to you? The old Westerns, right? And we think, I don't want to get worth. But what we do want is value. And what I want you to feel into right now is I want you to feel into the fact that you have a lot of value. You have a lot of value and a lot of richness. And when I see this card, it's more powerful than the words on it. Because this is a little Eskimo child who's given the gift of the great salmon chair. And the great salmon chair is the wisdom that not everybody gets. You have great wisdom in you. So this gift, and I'm getting truth bumps as I say this to you, this gift is bigger than self-worth. It's extremely valuable. In the fables, she sees the great salmon chair. She's a child. The mighty river and the valley try to stop her from getting to her tribe to tell them. She gets back to the elders and she says, I saw the salmon chair. And they say, you can't, you're a child. What are you talking about? You can't possibly have that. And after hours of trying to convince them of what she's learned, she finally crawls into bed and the salmon chair appears to her again. And this time she gets in. And the reason that's important for you is that your solution is to understand you have everything you need, but you're not going to be able to convince the people where you come from what you want to create. Do you see what I mean? Because they're not going to understand it. It's not that they're not capable. It's just that you have big visions. And to have big visions, you have to understand that there are certain people that won't be able to share them. Not because they don't want to, but because that's where the fear comes from. So now we're going to move into what is blocking you, which is the third card. And then the fourth card is what you must do to create what you desire. Okay, so let's look at what's blocking you. And energetically, let's go back in, if you would, Miss Kay. And what I want to say to you is that we can look at both of these cards as orange cards. Both the second and the third card are orange, which tells me there's a lot of emotion around this for you. There's a lot at stake emotionally. There's a lot that you want to grow into. The third card, when I just said that it says what is blocking you, it's the ability to put all this to bed. You know, the completion. And it's interesting because this card has come up for you before. And when we look at completion reversed, it's a breakthrough. And that's really powerful stuff because, again, at some point, it's like, who do you need to let go of to move into what you want to create? Because you see, as long as we're, don't take this the wrong way as I say it, as long as we're like having someone else, I want to say, holding them responsible for something emotionally, it's hard to move past it. Like there is a real frustration of wanting people to see who you are. Like I feel like part of your life is that people didn't see you. And it really, and emotionally, you know, that there's pain with this, especially when we go from self-worth into completion. It's like, don't you see me? Don't you see my value? And what happens is it becomes an external conversation and trying to get others to see it. And the truth is that this is a conversation around value, of understanding that you have a great deal of value and stepping into that. And when you get to that completion obviously is about a veteran who had an incredible career in the time he did serve, and it's done. His life has come to a spectacular conclusion. And this part of your life, the part of your life where you have to get that permission, it's not going to come in the form you want. So that is really the block, is that realizing that it's not that you weren't loved, it's that the love that you got wasn't in a form that worked for you. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's a big part of multi-generational healing as well. So, because we've talked about that quite a bit. And when I look at the fourth card, forgive me for keep looking it up, but you know, when I'm reading, I'm not looking at the definitions. I'm more with the person, you know. So it's like I have to keep going, oh, you know. Okay, so this tells me, the final card here tells me what she has to do to create her desire. And it's the quest card. It's in blue. So if you look at this, in the quest story, she's on her journey. She's on the journey. And it's interesting because in the story, she walks up to the swamp that nobody can ever cross. And when she gets to the swamp, it disappears and she can walk across it. And she says to the wise youngster, well, it's not there. And he says, of course it's not. It's an illusion. It's what stops people, the illusions. So if you get that there is no block, it's all illusion. That when you get to the swamp, it's not going to be there. So the thing is that why do we create the swamp? So we have a reason to not move on. It's a reason. right? But I'm going to tell you something. It's reversed. And when I see a reversal like this, it means you're already crossing the swamp. The sad thing is that you have to get that emotional thing. It's all possible for you, by the way. It's the emotional stuff, and it's so simple to work with. So this is the spread for removing blocks. I hope that was helpful.
Very much.
And thank you, everybody. So hopefully I will get to see you at some point. Have a great day.